Hey there, welcome. Welcome to Supercharged Fridays. We are now sitting at week 82. So, if you are someone who's never been on the live stream before, you are so welcome here. We go live every single Friday, and we have been doing it for 82 weeks. Time definitely flies. So, I hope you guys are well, and I hope I'm live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, even though I've been doing it for so long. Always worth checking, no matter how advanced our tech is in the world. It's always starting with, can you hear me, can you see me? So with that said, I want to talk about a very important topic today, and before I do that, because I share a lot on LinkedIn, and sometimes maybe it's like, not very easy to keep up. But in case you're watching, and in case you missed out on Tuesday, I posted something on my latest podcast with a gentleman called David Lansfield. Brilliant conversation, because we talked about how he became partner at PwC at 32 years old. Whether or not you're interested in a career in consulting, that conversation is priceless, because he gives interview tips, real world, and they helped me so much, considering I'm not looking for a job and considering I've hired so much through the years. So in case you missed it, definitely check it out on my website, superchargeyourself.com/podcast, and the most recent one will be up there on the website. So with that said, what we're going to be talking about today, I think, is one of the single most important topics that we can talk about in today's generation. I really wish, I'm going to bring in Anna, who's our guest, wonderful person who does, amazing work in this field. I wish we didn't have to talk about this. I wish this topic didn't exist. And I wish the labels wouldn't exist, but they do, right? When you have a child and you take a little bit of time off, whether it's a little or a lot, and you decide, I'm going to give this child my best. And in fact, we talked about it on the podcast, because David said there were certain parts of outsourcing he was not comfortable with, and he has a special needs boy. And it's one of the reasons he decided to leave his partnership behind, which is a very lucrative career in PwC. Children are the future. I know I'm sounding like Whitney Houston. And we take time to bring them up into the world. And then life is not easy, right? So we're going to talk about whatever it is we can do to help all the parents out there to make life a little bit easier, and step into your confidence with the one and only, I can't wait to introduce, Anna McKay. Such a warm welcome to Supercharged Fridays, Anna. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Sonal. It's wonderful to be here. I'm so excited to talk with your audience and talk about this topic. It's something that's very near and dear to my heart, and I know yours, and so I'm excited to talk with you. Thank you.
Perfect. Can't wait. So I'm going to see what's happening in the comments. But in the meantime, Anna, for anyone who's not familiar with you, tell us a brief backstory about who you are, what do you do, and how did you start Parents Pivot, the whole shebang.
Sure. So I've been a coach since 2008, so for about 13 years. I was a former auditor. I worked at Deloitte for a while before I became a coach, and
no one's perfect.
I know. So I went into accounting because I knew that I could get a job, and I knew that it was something that I could do well, but it wasn't ever something that my heart was really into. And so I made a career transition myself to coaching around the same time that my husband and I moved overseas. And so we were expats in the Philippines and expats in Beijing, China, and then moved to Houston about 8 years ago. And so I was coaching all along this way as an expat, and met so many people, mostly women, who had left their careers to move overseas with their spouse for their spouse's work, or had left their careers to care for young children. And then when they wanted to return to their home country or return to paid work, they found it really challenging. And I knew these women, and I knew what they were capable of. I knew what they were doing in their unpaid work. I knew how valuable these skills were to an employer. And I just was so frustrated by the fact that it was not like they were having a challenge returning to paid work. And so I decided to focus my coaching career on supporting parents returning to paid work about 2 years ago, and founded Parents Pivot. So, yeah.
Amazing. So this is from someone who's been there, done that, which is why I have a lot of respect for practitioners who are not just like do as I say, don't do as I do, but it's really, walking the talk. So we're going to take questions as well from the audience. We're going to specifically talk about people who've taken time off for children. I think, Anna, the only exception is when you've taken time off for a sick parent, which is at the end of the day, you're also a child, right? In that scenario. So if you have questions around that, we're going to be taking them today in the live conversation. Just make sure you write the word question in capital letters, so we make sure we don't miss your question in there. So Anna, can't wait to dig in. So there's so much we can talk about in such a short amount of time. It's not going to do justice. So I would highly recommend anyone who's interested in understanding more and you're going through challenges yourself to please follow Anna on LinkedIn, and as well as check out her website where she has a bunch of free resources as well on parentspivot.com. And I know, Anna, you're coming up with a program in a couple of months, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But definitely check it out, because I'm very careful and very picky about the guests I bring on. And these are quality people who are doing amazing work. And Anna is definitely one of them. So Anna, what do we do? I mean, the biases just don't stop, right? You've taken a pause for the right reasons. You don't regret it. You love your kids. But at the same time, and this is such an ugly bark, like I love my kids, but, there are these biases that I, as a parent, have taken time off. I struggle to get my foot back in the door. So specifically, like, let's get tactical here. How can someone who's struggling with that, how can they address these biases in their resume, as well as their LinkedIn or interview tips? I talk about this a lot, but I'm very interested to compare notes with you and see what you think about this.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that we're having this discussion, so I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So first thing, I noticed you said, and a lot of my clients do this too, I love my kids, but. So what if we replace the word but with and?
Yes, yes, of course. Yes.
Exactly. And so, we can work and parent. This is, it's a combination. And when you've been staying home, it's a transition. So it does take some time to transition, just as you would if you're starting any new job. And so that's important. I think that you're so right, though, that there are biases against parents who have taken a career pause. And so there's biases in the process with ATS systems screening people out without recent experience. They're biased. Hiring managers have bias against parents for several different reasons. I think, one of the most significant ones is, oh, she took a pause or he took a pause, and will they be as committed when they return? And oh man, this one drives me crazy. Or there's a bias around, will they have the skills to get what I need done? And so there are definitely the biases in the process and the human bias when you.
And not to forget, like, the most obvious one, which it feels like that they think that we are not intelligent anymore. So asking baseless questions like, who's going to take care of your kids? Like, dude, I'm not going to leave like a little child alone in the house. I've got that covered.
Right.
Childcare is sorted. But I get where they're coming from, but sometimes those questions are just reeking of bias slash prejudice slash discrimination, because there's a sliding scale, right?
Yes.
So you get it, Anna, you get it really well, and share with us how this can be addressed.
Yes. And so I'd say those common biases need to be addressed by you. And I think that you, as the interviewee, need to bring them up. And I think that so that you can own and control the conversation. And so the common biases, I always recommend that, you may have heard this, but I think that companies are only ever looking for three things. They want to know whether you're committed to the work that you're going to do. They want to know whether you're competent and whether you can do the work that you're going to do. And they want to know whether you'll be a good cultural fit within their organization. And so the three C's: competence, commitment, and cultural fit. So you need to, and there are those biases that I mentioned earlier are specifically around competence and commitment often, but also around cultural fit. And so you need to address each of those and present yourself based on your experience, either your prior professional experience or your experience during your career pause. You need to be able to express yourself that you have the skills that they are looking for. I've had some hiring managers tell me that they are so excited to hire parents who are returning to paid work because they know the drive and dedication that they've put into being a parent, and they know that that will come through in a job as well. And so many times I see this with my coaching clients is that they are eager to return. They are eager to return. They've demonstrated an ability to learn new skills during their career pause, and they bring that to the workplace. And a hiring manager who can recognize that somebody who can learn quickly and somebody who has the drive and dedication, and somebody who can, as somebody who may not have recent paid work experience in this field, they may be more eager to learn, and they may be open to understanding and learning your system, but they also will bring a new perspective and insight into the way that you're running things, because they've got a whole different set of experiences than somebody who's been continuously working.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I love how concrete this is, and I'm gonna recap. I love the three C's, and I love how you break it down. So we're like biases. Biases is such a big word, but no, no, no. Anna knows specifically there are three things they're looking for in most people, right? Not just you. They're looking for: are you competent? Can you do the job? Are you committed? Do you want to do it? Are you hungry enough? And I think I love that you shared that, because I think people who've been on a pause are more hungry. It's
Yes.
plain and simple, and will do whatever it takes to get back. Much more than it's so simple, right? You've just had a huge cake. You're not hungry, but if you haven't eaten in 3 days, you will do whatever you can to make sure you're satisfied and you're fed and your family is fed. And the third is culture fit. And I know this is a big one for a lot of companies. And now, with a little bit more inclusivity, we're talking a lot about culture add as well, which is like, yeah, you'll fit in, but what do you bring? Otherwise, culture fit tends to have that connotation of, you look like us and sound like us and talk and walk like us, then we're happy. And that's so dangerous, right? Because it's the opposite of inclusion. But I know what you meant. So how can you address each of these? That is the thing that we're talking about. So if you have questions in here about that, feel free to share. So Anna, so how can you show that you're more committed or more competent on your resume, for example?
Right, right. And so I do recommend that you use that personal value statement to demonstrate that you are committed to returning to paid work. Address that if you've taken a longer career pause. I have clients that have taken 21 and 18-year career pauses and have successfully returned to paid work. So if you have an extensive career pause like that, I would go ahead and address it and say, I have taken my time for my family. I am ready to focus and on my career. It's important to me to have a professional commitment, to contribute to my community, to contribute to an organization, to contribute to a company in a meaningful way, and I'm ready to do that.
Yeah.
And then you follow that up with some competence. And I know that I can do that because during my career pause, I have done XYZ, like project management, that I know is really important in this role that I'm applying for.
Okay, love it. I talk about the same thing. You don't hide it. Don't be ashamed of it. Be proud of it.
Exactly. And especially when you get to the interview, talking about it and owning it, and that tell me about yourself piece. I've had lots of clients who are resistant to bring it up. Then they're like, are you sure? And when they do, they are always met with, well, thank you, I appreciate
Yeah.
that, and they've landed the job. And so it's something that's really important to, so that you can own the narrative. They can see you talk about your pause with confidence, and that can shine through. And then your passion and excitement and that hunger that you were talking about earlier, Sanel, that hunger for returning to paid work can really shine through.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I know people who are like, oh gosh, I know this question is coming. Tell me about yourself. And I've been there. They build it up so much. Heart is racing that when it actually happens, messed it up because they were trying so hard to hide
Yes.
and run away from it as opposed to just embracing it and like, this is part of who I
Mhm.
am.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Anna, someone who's watching us. So first of all, if you're watching us, in the live, you guys are fantastic. Loving that you guys are here. We're going to be talking about the pause for parents specifically. So if you have questions in there, bring in. And if you're watching us on the replay, because I know a lot of people watch the replay and not live, please put hashtag replay. And a quick shout out. So in case you're watching this on LinkedIn or Facebook, please give lots of hearts and likes. It's 7 a.m. for Anna. So it's bright and early for her. So I really appreciate her being, here with us right now. So I want to talk about the people who found work after 10, 12, 15, 18, 20 years. Wow. Like those are success stories we all love. Like, like the hero's journey. And you worked with so many people who've been on those breaks and then, came back. And a big part of not going back sooner is not sometimes by choice.
Mhm.
It's our, like, oh no, I'm scared. I'm going to
Mhm.
get rejected. What's the point? And that affects our self confidence as well. So, talk to us about like some of your success stories. Like, what are the few things they did that were right?
Yeah. Well, I'd love to share that. I have a couple of clients, like I mentioned, who have longer extended career pauses. I have, one client who had been out of paid work for 18 years and just was feeling, most of my clients, and this is a really common, feel kind of a lack of confidence in
Yes.
their ability to return to paid work. They themselves don't believe in themselves. So part of it is me reflecting back to them all the work that they have done. So this one client who had a career pause for 18 years, when we looked back at all the work that she had done she was not paid for, it was tremendous. She had held more than 18 leadership positions, whether they were for her kids' school or in nonprofit organizations. She had raised more than $3 million for her community over the lifetime.
And the funny thing is, Anna, the cool stuff we've done when we were not paid to do those things, it's amazing. We don't, what is the word for it? The curse of knowledge. We're like, we don't
Yeah,
think it's a big deal because it's too
no.
close to us.
Exactly. Yes. And that's true. It's true. It's true of most people that if you have a strength or you've been doing something, you just think you've been doing it and you've just been doing it. You don't acknowledge the impact that you've had on other people, on your community. And so I think definitely taking a step back to recognize the impact that you have had is tremendous. And so this person who had the 18-year career pause, she landed a job as an account manager for a period of time. And now she's actually returning back to a major consulting firm after an 18-year career pause. And so I'm really excited for her and her journey.
No, that's
Um,
amazing. That's amazing.
yeah.
I want to shout out to a few companies out there that actually go out of their way. And I know some of the big four are one of them, where they are especially looking at hiring back. They call it moms. Yeah, there's a little bit of, I wouldn't say there's sexism because majority of the time it is the women who have decided to take a step back and support their partner. But Anna, I love that you call your company Parents Pivot and not Moms Pivot, because I think after COVID, especially, a lot of dads who've lost their jobs have realized, oh, shucks, this whole bias thing is actually real. Like it's
Mhm.
actually happening. And um, oh, why am I not treated the same if I've taken a little bit of time off, whether it was because of COVID or whether it was my choice, right?
Mhm. Yes.
So fantastic. So Prashant, we have a question in here about, yes, half a month, sorry, half a year, but I think you may have joined us late. Definitely watch the replay because we talked about how you address it on your resume. And while I'm in the comments, I'm going to see a friend of mine in Finland who's a, who's a career coach as well. And he says, I suppose you coach the pre-transition phase, which means how to get your client hired. How about coaching the transition, which is the first few months in a new job? Oh, I love that. Or even
Yes.
post
Well, yeah, I do that too. Most of my clients, if I've coached them through that pre-transition phase, then they end up becoming clients in that job transition phase as well. And so I do both. Most of my focus is on that pre-transition phase, but I also do that return to work coaching once you're onboarding within your new company, because that is a huge transition.
Yeah. No.
And
Yeah.
many companies have professional development stipends that they're able to use towards that. So, yeah, so it's definitely an extra.
Got that. Lovely, fantastic. Because you can't have one and not the other.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, I've got you hired, you're not my problem anymore. You're in the deep end of the ocean, you learn how to swim. It's been a while since you went swimming. Hello.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need a little bit of a hand. So I have a question here from Lalit. I do not have direct experience, Anna, but have you had your clients go through this one-sided interview with a software like HireVue, where I mean, I don't get why I honestly don't get it why companies do it, because you really feel like a robot.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my view. But have you had experience with your clients going through this?
Yeah, so you're talking about kind of the automatic system of like, or the AI interviewing
Video,
you, or
yes,
yes,
yes.
video inter. Yes, I do. I have had, and I can tell you that my clients do not like it. But I mean, I think that and I think that it's a way. So one of the things that I encourage people to do is practice on record yourself and practice yourself doing an interview. I also encourage my clients to do a video kind of resume. And so if they've practiced this already, then this kind of hiring process will be more comfortable. But, if you can practice in front of a video, talking to the camera, using all those strategies we've learned over the past year, then I think you'll do well. I don't like those processes either.
Yeah. No, I know really large organizations that have done it. And a friend of mine, when she went through it, I thought she was kidding. This
Yeah.
was 3 years ago. And she said, oh no, I had to talk and it was blank. And
Yeah.
I don't know, there's something about, I just felt violated, which sounds like a strong word, but you just sit there and it's like you're in a police cell and they have that one-sided mirror.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I honestly don't understand how this is going to help their image.
Right.
But I understand that. And Anna, let's talk about our social circle, right? They mean well, right? Our family, our friends. Um, but there'll be all kinds of advice out there. Chill out, your kid is still little, and you're like, oh gosh, I think I need a new set of friends. Like, they're not really necessarily supportive of my idea to get back to paid work. And I have to keep saying it because working from home, childcare, stay at home mom, stay at home dad, I wish it were recognized, but it isn't. Till the day it's not, it is how it this is how it is. And I don't know if you remember this, Anna, but I used to come across every now and then, or maybe we are more sensitive at that time, to brushing off advice or even a little air of superiority about, I haven't taken time off. Like my
Yeah.
kid went from being born to the crash, like that. And
Right.
I mean, you're human, right? It impacts you. How do you deal with it?
Yes, yes. So first of all, I would definitely, that's tough. It's tough when your friends and family don't understand where you're coming from, don't understand your perspective. So just acknowledging that is a real challenge. And to also acknowledge that they are coming from their perspective. Usually when they make those comments, it's really more about them than it is about you.
Yes.
So grounding yourself in your own values, I think is something that's really important. At some point in time, it was important for you to stay home. It was important for your family. It was important for your children. It was important for your situation. And that was a value that was important to you. And now another value that is important to you is returning to paid work and contributing in a meaningful way. And so it's not to ground yourself in the values that you have, and to know that that I made the right decision at the time for my family. Now I'm feeling a little different, and it's okay to feel differently. It's okay to shift your priorities as we grow, as we change, as our family changes. It's okay to shift our priorities, and so to reconnect to what those values are that are important to you, and to go forward in that way.
No, that's a good point. Value, check in with your values and not necessarily go with the flow, because it may not be serving you. The values that you had, it happens, right? We evolve. We are not who we were in 2005, 2008, 2010 when we had, when we didn't have kids, right? So that's a great point about checking in, and you're an auditor, right? So sometimes we need to audit our social circle.
Yes.
So,
Exactly, exactly.
I love that. We have an interesting question here from someone who says, this is from an interviewer perspective. Should we make up our mind to be lenient during the interview? Oh, because that's the other extreme, right? Or should we
Mhm.
be the usual? What do you think about that?
Yeah. So I think that if you're making up your mind to be lenient, you're automatically kind of thinking, oh, this person doesn't have a lot to bring. So I'm just gonna, yeah. And they do. I mean, I have had clients who, another one of my clients who had a 21-year career pause.
21.
I know. She had a 21-year career pause, and we talked a year ago, and she was deciding, we talked about work, whether she was going to come to this Thrive group coaching program that I have, or whether she was going to just try and figure it out on her own. And so for a year, she said, oh, I'll just try and figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
And then a year went by, and we reconnected, and she was like, okay, I'll sign up. I'll sign up for Thrive. And within a month of the Thrive program, after a 21-year career pause, she landed her dream job and negotiated a raise. So
I can't stand it when people say, I have a salary negotiation video on YouTube and it's done insanely well. And I always get this comment, and I get it from particularly moms. Yeah, but this doesn't apply to me. I've been on a break for 4 years, 6 years, 8 years. I'm like, yes, it does. Yes, it does. It applies to you. And Anna's giving beautiful examples of that. So
yeah. Well,
I would, yeah,
and
go
so
ahead.
to answer the question,
Yeah.
I think that you need to ask, you really need to ask the questions that you're concerned about. You need to ask the questions like, or like, tell me an example, those typical behavioral interview questions. Tell me an example of a time when you had to work in a fast-paced environment. Tell me about a time when you had to problem solve. And so this client of mine who had a 21-year career pause, she was somebody who would see problems, see challenges, and find solutions. She lived in an area where her school didn't have a busing system. And so she implemented a whole busing system for 30 families.
Holy heck. I hope this is giving ideas to people that it's not superstars who are getting a break, getting their big break after a break of 21 years. No, it is everyday people like you and me. And if these people can do it, and they're like, yeah, but she's paid, this is a very nice program, I don't have it. You don't always have to get into a fancy coaching to be able to you just need to get your head in the right place. So I think short answer, Nitesh, don't go out of your way one way or the other, right? To reject or to select. Don't go out of your way. Be fair, be transparent, but also dig a little deeper about what they bring to the table. Don't be, quick to judge. And I would say that's really good advice in general, for everyone. But I think that's a great question, Nitesh, and I'm so
Yeah.
glad that you asked. Need.
And hiring for potential. A lot of these parents have, so much potential and so much drive. And so I think asking questions around times that they've demonstrated initiative and that kind of thing as well.
Yeah,
So,
no, I
yeah.
love that. So I love so much participation here. And we have Aruna, and she's talking about the break. So, Aruna, happy that you're here. I've had a successful transition post a 2.5 year break post childbirth, but now I'm on an 8 month break for my own personal health. And as the treatment is long drawn, so I'm confident and strong enough to resume work, but I sense hesitation from recruiters. So I say it was for parent care, which I'm guessing is not true. Is it going to mess up when I appear for a medical check pre joining? I'm
Yeah.
going to let you take a second, Anna, if you want to read that. That's a big
Sounds,
one.
yeah, sounds good. So it sounds like you have your current pause is for your own health, and and medical information is personal and private, and you can keep that to yourself. I think the concern that you have is, will this will the I'm sensing hesitation from recruiters, you say. So what is that hesitation about? Is that hesitation about, like, oh, this person took a pause 2.5 years ago and now she's taking a pause again, will she take another pause? And
Yes.
so I think that you need to address that concern and say, look, I took a pause 2 years ago and now I'm taking a pause, but I'm ready to return to paid work. And, and I have this professional experience. I'm qualified for this work because of X, Y, and Z. And I am committed to returning. And, I've loved having this time to really reflect on what's important to me. And I know what that is. And what that is making an impact professionally.
No, I know. That's a great point. And Aruna, you also have to be very careful about oversharing. And the other side of oversharing is lying. We want to be careful that we don't do either, right? Because oversharing only comes and bites us in the backside. There's a lot of things that companies don't need to ask you. They are getting too nosy if they want to know very like details, like, oh, health reasons. What happened? Not it. I don't think that's necessary. I don't think it's relevant, particularly if you are you're already on the path to recovery. So saying if it was for parent care, but it wasn't parent care. So I appreciate that you've said it out loud, here in this, it's not an easy thing. And you're thinking by doing that, you're going to get your foot back in the door. I've never been a fan of misleading or lying to get in, because you're starting a relationship with the company, whether you like it or not. You're starting it, and it's based on dishonesty. Not the best way to do anything, any relationship, especially when you're starting. And I think that, you I would say it. We live in a world where, yeah, people get sick. Yeah, I've had some health challenges, and I'm completely recovered. So that has addressed the thing that there is no risk anymore. You had a break for a kid, it's done. He or she is in school. You have time, and you're itching to get back to work. I think that narrative is very important, Anna. If you want to add to that, as opposed to living there and changing it, particularly if it's not true.
Yes, I agree. It's something's always going to come up. You're going to either forget that you said that, or
Yeah,
something's going to come up and
yeah,
it might not work out
yeah,
so well down the road. Yeah, I agree.
exactly.
Totally. Great.
So hopefully that helps you, Aruna. Wish you lots of success. Keep us posted on how things go. And I see a question on resume length, which is a little bit irrelevant today. But Prashant, I have this on my YouTube channel. Check it out. I typically say 5 to 10 years. You can definitely stick to a one-page resume. You don't have to go deeper in there. Our friend in Honduras, her name is Iris, and she's asking about how do you approach people that are all up on your business about not changing careers, but what they don't know is kids are the reason, and you're a single parent.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means, Iris, you're coming from a point of view that this is going to be holding you back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think, Anna?
Yeah. And so I'm curious about whether this somebody who you're not changing careers because you have kids and you are a single parent. And so you want to focus on that, and changing careers, throwing a change in a career into that mix is just too much for you at this point. And I think that if that's what the question is, that that maybe people are encouraging you to change your career, but you
Yes.
don't feel like it. I mean, I think it's always important for us to take a step back and reflect. And I think that oftentimes, if you can reflect on what is important to me, where do I want to go. And a lot of times when we have young kids, and if especially for single parents, it's hard to take that time to
Yeah.
reflect. and
Yeah.
and so thinking through what's important to you, where you want to go long term. Maybe these people have, they're caring for you and they have your best interest at heart and they want you to make this career change because of they think it'll be better for you in the long run. But really, you need to reflect on what's important for you and think through, okay, well, what is my long-term vision of where I want to be? What is, and what's important to me right now? What's important to me right now, especially over the past year? So many of us have had to juggle childcare and working, and so what is important to us right now? What is important to us in the moment? And then also thinking through and reflecting on what's important to us in the future.
Yes, no, that's something that I think we have to do ourselves, and no amount of external stimulation or will help us. That is worth spending time on.
Mhm.
So hopefully, Iris, that helps you. And Prashant, that is a great point. They simply ask, "Why is there a pause?" Even though it's really obvious.
Mhm.
I will just say, just like with every profession, HR, recruiters, you have good ones and you have not so good ones, right? You have ones with empathy, you have ones which are just pure, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that word, those words came out of that person's mouth. Those are not your people. Move on. That's all I'm gonna say. So Anna, so if someone who's like listening today, and I see a few of our friends have joined late, definitely catch the replay, Tegan. This was a fantastic conversation that I know will definitely bring a lot of value. And Iris comes back and says, "My kids are number one." Then you got your answer, right? There's no good or bad. Like, I want to be, a parent, but I also want to enjoy, and not but, and I want to have a successful career, right? And for some people, it's like, no, 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 kids are a priority right now. Okay, then you know what needs to take a little bit of a backseat in the moment.
Yeah.
You're very welcome. So Anna, so someone who's listening and joining us late, we're coming close to the end, but now just to summarize it, someone who's watching us right now has taken several months, years of a career break, career pause to be a full-time parent. Now, this is a bit of a loaded question. Step by step, what do they need to do?
Yes. So I think that when people have an extended career pause, reflecting, like I just answered for the last question, I think reflecting on what you have chosen to do during that career pause can help guide where you want to go. So many of my clients come to me and they have a lack of clarity around what I want to do. I've had a career pause for 21 years or 18 years. I can't imagine going back and doing what I was doing before, but I don't know what else I want to do. And so to inform that decision, reflecting on the choices you made around how you spent your time during your career pause can inform what you want to do next, and can also help you identify those skills that will be transferable. I know, for my mom, I don't know exactly what her process was in returning to paid work, but I know my dad would tell stories about how she would bring cookbooks on vacation with her. And she loved entertaining people and she loved cooking for people. And so this is something that she chose to do time and time again. And so my mom or my dad and a bunch of my mom's friends just encouraged her to develop her own catering business. And she became a caterer and was one of the most successful caterers in our city. Because she really loved it. And so, thinking through what it is that you have chosen to do during your pause. Other clients of mine have implemented systems in in their volunteer roles. And so, like, if that's something that's appealing to you, dig a little bit deeper into that. Other clients have managed projects and budgets and made sure everything got done on time and made sure everything, stayed within a budget. If that's what you chose to do, great. Go for it. Use that as a little nugget of information to help you find that clarity. And other clients have done community development and community engagement. They are the person who's always bringing in those outsiders. They are the person who is always making people feel included as part of the community. And so, those are all strengths and skills. Like, how did you show up in your pause? So,
Yeah, no, I love that. I love the story of your mom. My gosh, that is so cool. Leaning into what you're good at. And if you want to do something during your vacation, you really love it, right? Reading cookbooks. You're taking those big, and those are the days we didn't have Kindle, right? So you're taking like heavy cookbooks with you in
I
your
know.
suitcase. Yeah, on your holiday. That what is it that you love to do? You would do it for free.
Yeah.
A pause is a great time to reflect on that, right? And I love that you shared that. So fantastic. We have a little piece of advice. Iris, if you're still watching us, no, not Iris, I'm sorry, Aruna, but this could also be helpful for others. If the personal health issue is about burnout or mental health problems, it can also be a great asset. How can you spin it? You know the symptoms and will be able to recognize them early enough and can deal with them easier. And in some professions like coaching or HR or other places, a personal experience of, let's say, burnout or depression is really, really valuable to understand, and clients may be able to empathize with it. I think it's a little your personal preference, how you deal with it, but that's a great suggestion, Risto. So hopefully, Aruna, that helps you as well. And what do you think, Anna? This is a great question because I talk about sometimes you need to take one step back and then take two steps forward, which means
Mhm.
the work that you return to after a very long pause. We have so much pressure, Anna, that it has to be the right, perfect, beautiful fit.
Mhm.
And I'm like, take what you can get. It right, right now it doesn't have to be perfect, but I talked about it last week. What is it going to be the springboard for? And that is what our friend Risto talks about here as well. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like what you said. What is it going to be the springboard for? Like, if you are taking on a position for a lesser salary or a volunteer role, like, what are you? What is the purpose of that? What
Yeah,
is, what skill are you going to be developing?
go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you. Somebody made a comment about my podcast mug.
Yeah.
What is the skill you're developing in this role, which on the surface looks like it's paying less, or the title is a little bit like it doesn't give me that much of an ego rush, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you've got to take, if you've got to look at where you are, look at what you need, look at, the gaps in your experience. Is this role going to be something that fills that gap, or is it not? And so that will help you, I think, make the decision.
No, that's a great point. And coming back to health, and I'm so glad that this topic has come up. I told the interviewer I'm fully recovered from the illness and I have the skills to do the job, but the recruiter still hesitated if my health can take up the challenge. If I can
Mhm.
still do the job, how do you address that?
hmm Yeah, and so I think that you can say, well, I'm healthy. I am doing all of these other activities right now. I am. I think it's tough sometimes if you've got somebody who's stuck on that.
Yes.
But you address it the best you can with examples of how you have overcome the challenge or how you will be able to do what they're going to be asking you to do in your job.
Yeah. And you know what, Explorer Teddy, if they say no, then fine. They're not your people. There will be
Yes.
others who will be inspired
Yeah.
that you went through this journey and you're successful and they will want to work with you. Don't,
Yes.
it's taken me years and years to realize you're going to repel some people, you're going to attract some people. Don't worry about repelling the wrong people because every
Exactly.
rejection feels personal, Anna.
Yeah.
It stings. And
It
we don't know
does.
sometimes that it's a right rejection.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Our friend Kevin is joining us from Dallas, who's like next door neighbor for you, I'm guessing.
Oh
Dallas,
yeah.
Houston. I know Texas is huge, but this is so useful. And in case someone is interested and is listening, Anna, you have a program that is mentioned on your website. Tell us about that. And I know that it starts in a couple of months, but already maybe if someone's interested, they can do a little bit of research on it.
Exactly. Yes. So I have a program called Thrive that walks you through step by step everything that you need to know to return to paid work. So it helps you build clarity around what it is that you want to do. It helps you develop that confidence. There's a digital course on confidence that goes along with it, and we talk about that in the program. These are live sessions. We talk about your resume, your LinkedIn, your interview skills, your salary negotiation, networking. Everything is in this
Everything.
program.
Mhm.
Exactly. And so it's a framework that I've used several times. And I'm so excited that this fall I have brought on a couple of coaches to lead Thrive cohort. So we're building it out. There's a lot of demand for it. People are really excited about it. And I'm so excited that these coaches will be using the same framework that I've used over and over again with clients. These are trained coaches. They know what they're doing. They're returners themselves, so they know that
Yes.
experience,
Yes.
and they're using this proven framework. And so I'd love to offer to anybody who wants to sign up for the Thrive program within the next 24 hours to a free coaching session. So in addition to the program,
Just take it. Don't even think about it. But in case you have your doubts, definitely check out Stock Anna a little bit on LinkedIn. Check out her website. But this sounds like a fantastic opportunity, Anna, particularly for someone who's going through the whole field, like the fields,
yeah,
confidence. I don't know where to begin. I'm lost, etc. So this sounds fantastic. I can't wait to see you launch the program.
yeah.
And this has been such an education, I have to say. There's so much we talked about when it comes to biases. How do you get back, how do you address those biases on resumes, on your interviews? I'm doing a quick recap because I know we have sometimes a few people who joined us late. What do you do with self-confidence issues? And Anna, I know that you talk about how do you get back with confidence, clarity, and
Mhm.
just you're exactly where you need to be. How do you do that, right?
Yeah.
And then how do you deal with your social circle, which can sometimes be your champion and it can sometimes be the ones that pull you down, right? And all the advice that you've shared. This has been so awesome. Thank you so much. And definitely take advantage and check out Anna's website as well as her LinkedIn profile, where I know you share a lot of great stuff. And Anna, having had the entire expat experience and working with Deloitte, it's not someone who's just dreamed of doing this one day. This is someone who's lived through career pauses herself. So Anna, with that said, huge thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Sonal. This is wonderful. I love what you're doing, and these Supercharged Fridays are awesome. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right. I hope this was useful. Anna is amazing. If you guys are joining us late, definitely catch the replay. This was the 82nd edition of Supercharged Fridays. Come in the comments and please put in hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. What are your takeaways? Are you going through a career pause right now? What are your biggest challenges? This is a great time to ask. Put it in the comments. I'll see the comments even after we are live. So, with that said, I want a quick reminder in case you didn't get this. There's a podcast episode I did where you can check it on my website, where I talk to a partner at PwC who's done exceptionally well. It's one of my best downloaded episodes. I really, really think that this is worth listening to. And he talks about what are the steps he took to be partner at that stage, so young in his career. So with that said, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been here and join us live. Appreciate your time. It's not something I take for granted. You have options online. You can be in so many places, but the fact that you decided to, be with us means a lot. Take care of yourself. Next week, I will be by myself. I'll take all your questions on interviewing, LinkedIn, resume, the whole, career shebang. So till then, take care of yourselves. Bye for now.